Good evening and a very warm welcome. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. It's the 11th of May 2024. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Peruni Karunaratna. Before we head on to your stories in detail, first, your headlines.
We'll never sacrifice country to multinational cooperation, opposition leader pledges.
Sajith Premadasa රටවල් වලට වෙන්දේසි වෙන්නේ නැහැ. බහුජාතික සමාගම් වලට සල්ලි වලට ගන්න බෑ.
Anuru Kumara says he will not let Sri Lanka become a hub of global power politics. New Electricity Act aims to hand over power and energy sector to Adani. Allegations from political parties and civil organizations. Ministry of Public Security seeks advice of Attorney General on further action concerning Diana Gamage. Police say shooting in Ahungalle stem from underworld wars. Sajith hints at new political alliance.
On to those stories in detail now. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says 1 billion rupees will be allocated next year for research on artificial intelligence and Buddhist philosophy. An event was held to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Sri Lanka Buddhist Society in Moratuwa. The event was presided over by President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ දේශනා කරපු ධර්මයේ හැටියට අපි අනාගතයේ දිහා බලනවා.
Looking to the future through the lens of Lord Buddha's teaching, two main issues confront us: climate change and artificial intelligence. The rise of artificial intelligence in the coming decades raises a critical question: where will it lead? Lord Buddha highlighted that the mind controls everything. Control over the mind was considered a uniquely human capability. Now, artificial intelligence centers the equation. With its vast information processing capabilities, AI could be programmed with countless ideas, encompassing entire libraries. But will it remain neutral? We don't know if AI will deviate from its intended purpose, potentially promoting alternative doctrines and swaying people's beliefs. This dilemma extends beyond Buddhism, affecting all religions. Therefore, we will introduce new rules and regulations to control AI and guide the technology towards the required path. The subject ministry has drafted a bill regarding the development of the technology, and an AI center will also be established. Additionally, I hope to allocate at least 1 billion rupees to initiate research on Buddhism and AI. Given the absence of the legal framework and regulations necessary for protection, we postponed it this year to introduce legislation and commence research thereafter.
මේ කෘත්‍රිම බුද්ධියයි අතර තියෙන පරිශ්‍රණ වැඩ කටයුතු ආරම්භ කරන්න. නීතිය නැති නිසා ආරක්ෂා කිරීමට ඕන රෙගුලාසි නැති නිසා මේ අවුරුද්ද එක කල් දැම්ම නීතිය ඉදිරිපත් කළා ඊට පස්සේ ඒක ආරම්භ කරනවා.
Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa says that he will never betray the country to foreign countries or multinational companies. He expressed these views at the event to present the Samaga Janabalawege Agrarian Manifesto held in Ampara today.
ආදරණීය මිත්‍රවරුනි මහාමාන්‍ය DS සේනානායක මැතිතුමා සේනානායක
DS Senanayaka developed a large irrigation civilization through the left and right banks of the Senanayaka Samudra. Darli Senanayaka developed another irrigation civilization across the Panalgama Reservoir, Ambalanoya, Ekdoloya and Pallama Oya. The Namala project was developed during the reign of Sirimawa Bandaranayaka. Bandaranayaka's faction will also join us in the future.
මැතිණියගේ ඒ පාර්ශ්වය අපිත් සමග එකතු වෙනවා කියන එක මම මේ අවස්ථාවේ කියන්න කැමතියි.
The rally held at the Chambira Singha Stadium in Ampara was organised by the national organiser of the Samagi Farmers Front, Nalin Bandara.
මේ සමගි ගොවිජන ප්‍රකාශනය එක්ක අම්පාරට අවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ.
We did not come empty-handed to Ampara with this agrarian manifesto. Every policy that is required by the farmers in the area will be implemented under a government led by Sajith Premadasa. It was not hard to boast and make various statements. Our opposition leader is working for the people of the country without having any power, which has never been done in the past. We will definitely make him the leader of this country this year. The SJB team led by Sajith Premadasa will form a new government by this November and implement the program to take the country forward with the people. We will not work to take the country backwards.
පිළිවෙල ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා මිසක් රට ආපස්සට ගෙනියන්න අපි වැඩ කරන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක මතක් කරන්න කැමතියි.
මතක තියාගන්න අපි බංකොලොත් වුණේ එක පාරක්. සමහර රටවල් දෙවනි පාර තුන්
Sri Lanka only went into bankruptcy once, but there are countries that declared bankruptcy not once or twice but 5 times. Countries that go into bankruptcy face 100 times more burden and pain. If we don't reach right decisions, think wisely and choose the next government wisely, this country may go into bankruptcy again. Regardless of which side you are on, think wisely if you will push the country towards bankruptcy a second time or save the nation.
පාර බංකොලොත් වෙනවද නැත්නම් රට බේර ගන්නවද කියලා.
ගෝඨාභය රාජපක්ෂගේ පොදු ජන පෙරමුණේ අමනෝච්ච ක්‍රියා මෝඩ
Because of the unwise actions and decisions of Gotabaya Rajapaksa and the SLPP, you were unable to engage in farming for over 3 years. There was no fertilizer or pesticides. The harvest reduced by half and the farmer became poor. Children starved and families had to sell their jewelry. Under Sajith Premadasa's leadership, we will bring an era where the farmer will reign like in the Senanayaka era and the Gamini Premadasa era.
යුගයක් සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාස යුගය අපි ගේනවා කියලා අපි තමුන්නාසට කියනවා.
Diga Madulla and Uhana organizer of the UNP, Jayanta Ratnayaka, and SLPP organizer of the Damana Pradeshya Sabha area, former Pradeshya Sabha chairman Vipula Ratnayaka, also expressed their support to the SJB. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa also emphasized that he will never betray the country to foreign countries or multinational companies.
මේ රටේ ජාතික කෘෂිකර්ම පුනර්ජීවයක් ගොවිජන සංවර්ධනයක් සිදු වෙන්නට ඕන. ඒක කරන්නට නම් දැනුම නව්‍යකරණය.
This country needs a national agricultural revival and the farming community should experience development. In order to do that, we need to take agriculture to the next level by using knowledge, modernization and new technology. We will provide new technical knowledge and equipment through a concessionary system to the farmers of our country. We will initiate a program that will connect the market and manufacturers through new applications. The application should be given at a concessionary rate. We need to provide facilities to store your produce by creating massive cold storage complexes. Under government we will bring land development, agriculture, irrigation and Mahavali under one ministry, formulate a national agricultural policy and make farmers the kings of the country. The collapsed pension systems for farmers will be reactivated before the end of the year. We will also provide freehold deeds after implementing a mechanism to ensure farmers don't have to mortgage their farming land. We cannot be bought by different companies. Dairy farmers and those working in animal production should know that Sajith Premadasa cannot be bought over by any country or multinational company. Those who followed communism and Marxism, who used to speak about the selling of state resources, have sold the country. They have let go of their policies. The SJB will never do that. We will launch projects with countries, institutions and companies that have achieved milk self-sufficiency. But we will only initiate joint projects while safeguarding the rights of our country and its people.
හැබැයි අපි කිරි ස්වයං පෝෂිත භාවය ජයග්‍රහණය කරපු රටවල් එක්ක ආයතන එක්ක සමාගම් එක්ක අපි ඒකාබද්ධ ව්‍යාපෘති වලට යනවා. හැබැයි ඒ දේ කරනකොට අපේ රටට අපේ ජනතාවට තියෙන අයිතිය රැකගෙනයි අපි හැම ඒකාබද්ධ ව්‍යාපෘතියකටම ප්‍රවේශ වන්නේ.
Andrew Kumara Disanayaka, the leader of National People's Power, says that Sri Lanka should not become the centre of international conflict. He made these comments while attending the National Summit of Professional Surveys held in Colombo today.
We have strong foreign relations. No country in this world can survive in isolation anymore. The countries are linked by technology. It is tied with markets and bound by communication. That is why we say it's a global village. The world is in a power struggle. China, India, Russia and from the other side, the United States are the most powerful countries. Sri Lanka is located in a strategic location. It is the location that affects us the most. Look at the world in the year 1505, when the Western countries became powerful. Those countries invaded us. Today, our country is spoken of in the European Union and the Human Rights Council. It is because our country is located in a strategic position. That is why our country has become the center of a power struggle. Therefore, we need a strong foreign policy because Sri Lanka should not become the center of the power struggle in the world. Sri Lanka should not be another Ukraine. Look what has happened to them. I'm not saying that Russia is right, but there is a problem. That is why a foreign policy is extremely important at this time, and that is why we have met and discussed with the Minister of Foreign Affairs of India and the Minister of the Chinese Communist Party. We will not allow any country in the world to make Sri Lanka the center of a power struggle.
අපි ලෝකයේ කිසිදු රටක බල ගැටුමේ කේන්ද්‍රයක් බවට ශ්‍රී ලංකාව පත් කරන්න ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Political parties and civil organizations allege that the new Electricity Act aims to hand over the country's power and energy sector to the Adani company. These opinions were expressed at a seminar held yesterday to inform the general public on the effects of the new Electricity Act. Representatives of various political parties, trade unions and civil organizations attended the seminar.
According to whose requirements was this act drafted? Who is the advisor behind this? We do not know to this very date. We spoke multiple times to the minister in charge and requested him to let us contribute to the drafting process, as we are knowledgeable in this regard. However, we have not been granted the opportunity to contribute. Why does the CEB endure losses? According to the minister in charge, it is due to salaries paid to its employees. The total amount allocated for payment of salaries is only 6% of the total expense of the board. Then what caused the CEB to endure losses? The delays caused due to political decisions has cost the country $16 billion. What is our country's total debt? About $51 billion. When the company that comes to build the power plant in Sampur was sent away, they went and built one in Bangladesh. And what did they name it? Maitri Power Plant. We took massive loans for this project as well. Now the loss of the Sampur power plant causes a loss of 2 billion rupees to the country annually.
Political party representatives also expressed their opinions.
It is evident that the aim of the new Electricity Act is to hand over the country's power and energy sector to the Adani company. No matter what they try to do to conceal it, that is the truth.
අපි ඉන්දියාව අපේ ගත්තු ණයම් ප්‍රමාණයක් කපා හරිනවා නම් අපි ඉන්දියාවට යම් 12 දෙනි වගේක් දෙන්නට තියෙනවා.
If we request a haircut of the Indian debt, we will have to give them something in return. Certain things have been selected for this cause. As for the incident that unfolded at the Bandaranaike airport, what is this BlackRock company? It is a company linked to sovereign bonds. They have entered into a deal with this company. This is the background of what is going on. This issue regarding the Electricity Act should not be the only thing we should worry about. We should be vigilant about all happenings and create a public uprising. The third section of this act proposes the establishment of an advisory committee with regard to electricity. 4 of the 7 members of this committee have been appointed by the minister. This committee will make long-term power generation plans and tariff proposals. Previously, this was not linked to the government. However, now that is not quite the case. It is clear that this institution is no longer independent. I was asking some time before, what exactly does this act say? Is it Sinhala, English, Tamil or Malayalam? When I raised this question yesterday, the minister said that it was not done by them, and that is how it was legally drafted. If things like this keep happening, and once the power of appointing advisory committees is transferred to the minister, we will need all the help we can get. There are many issues in this. The dealings created with the PUCSL through this act will launch the country's power and electricity sector into a major crisis. The PUCSL was created for 3 aspects: hydropower, fuel power and electricity. Only the aspect of electricity was implemented through the Electricity Act of 2009, not the PUCSL Act. The other 2 have not been implemented yet. This matter needs to be heavily discussed.
මෙන්න මේ කාරණේ බරපතල විදියට සාකච්ඡා කරන්න තියෙනවා.
එතකොට මේක ඉදිරියේදී මේ ලාභ ලැබීමට හැකියාව තියෙනවා.
They showed a mammoth profit of 60 billion rupees last year. To create the background and show that the CEB is capable of profiting, the Act includes a section on generating profit. That means everyone who gets involved in this sector will immensely profit. If someone generates a massive profit from electricity, that would affect the remaining sectors of the economy.
උත්පාදනය කරනවා. විදුලියෙන් අති විශාල ලාභයක් කවුරු උත්පාදනය කරනවා ආර්ථික ඉතුරු ක්ෂේත්‍රවලට ඒක බලපානවා. විදුලි බල විෂය පිළිබඳව බලශක්ති විෂය පිළිබඳව අපේ පක්ෂය වගකීම්.
I hold responsibility in our party regarding matters concerning the power and energy sector. I had one question to ask our party leader. What would happen under government of ours if this bill is passed? He told me not to worry and said that we should do everything in our power to prevent it from being passed. He said that under a government of ours, I could cancel it as a subject minister. I have a question. The incompetent government is said to be sent home in another 3 to 4 months. Knowing that they will be sent home in a few months, what are they doing here? They are talking about court decisions. The problem will not be solved through the Supreme Court. This bill must be defeated. One day of protest will not solve this matter. Have you not in the history of trade unions fought against such bills? Why are you not doing anything when the CEB is going to be fragmented and sold?
The National Election Commission, issuing a press release the day before yesterday, informed that Sri Lanka's presidential election will be held between the 17th of September and the 16th of October. However, which election will be held first, the presidential election or the parliamentary election? Who are the presidential candidates? These topics were the center of attention in Sri Lanka's political sphere.
What the National Election Commission has announced is neither the date of the presidential election nor the date for calling of nominations. The press release does not mention anywhere that the election will be held. Knowing the nature of our country and its leaders, all this might turn out to be a deceptive motive aimed to launch opposition parties into crisis. However, be it the presidential or parliamentary election, we are ready to face it. The SJB, NPP, UNP and SLPP are holding discussions with us. We are also discussing the formations of alliances. We extend an invitation to all of those factions to join hands with us. However, we have not made a decision on who will be collaborating with us for the elections.
Minister of Education Dr. Susil Premajantha made the following remarks on the upcoming election candidacy.
No, but looking at the way the current president has worked in the recent past, all face challenges. I don't think that someone who is not ready to face challenges can take the country forward in the future.
එතුමා ඉදිරිපත් වුණොත් හොඳයි. මොකද එතුමා තමයි දන්නේ කොච්චර අමාරුවෙන්ද මේ අවුරුදු දෙකේදී මේක ගොඩ ගත්තේ කියලා.
ඔබතුමා හිටපු ශ්‍රී ලංකන් දස් පක්ෂේ ඔබතුමාව එළෙව්වයි කියලා දැන් ඉදිරියේදී මහමැතිවරණයක් ආවා. ඔබතුමා මොන ආකාරයකද කටයුතු කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු
නෑ අද ඔය තියෙන දේශපාලන පක්ෂ ඔය කඳවුරු නෙවෙයි.
Not the existing political camps, new camps will be established within the next 2 to 3 months. We will contest the general election with the campaigns that align with our policies. In a presidential election, we will support those who can move forward.
මින් ඉදිරි පියවරක් යන්න පුළුවන් අයට සහයෝගය දෙන්න.
Governor of the Sabaragamu province, Navin Dissanayake, says that President Ranil Wickremesinghe's victory in the upcoming presidential election is inevitable.
The upcoming election will definitely be the presidential election. President Ranil Wickremesinghe will contest in it with the support of all parties as a new national candidate. Sajith Premadasa has also said that he will contest the election. The three main candidates will be Ranil Wickremesinghe, Sajith Premadasa and Anurukumara Dissanayake. Ranil Wickremesinghe is at major advantage as the opposition votes will be divided into a tripartite fight for power. I don't think anyone can prevent that victory.
The women's wing of the Sri Lanka Podu Jana Perumuna commented on Diana Gamage losing her seat as a parliamentarian following a Supreme Court judgment. They emphasised that the move by the Samagijana Balawege to deprive female representation in parliament was unethical.
Today, That party lost another one of its female representatives. The issue here is not whether she is in the opposition or the government. We are talking about female representation. Why wasn't the vacant seat given to another woman? It was unethical to appoint a male parliamentarian instead of her.
කෝලහල කැරලි කෝලහල මැද්දට ගිහිල්ලා වර්ජන මැද්දට ගිහිල්ලා පොලිස් නිලධාරීන් බදා ගන්න නිර්භය වෙන කාන්තාව පවා ඉන්න පක්ෂයක.
In a party which has fearless women who go to riots, why was a man appointed instead of a woman? We request all leaders to be sensitive and allow more female representation for the upcoming election.
කාන්තාවට වැඩි නියෝජනයක් ලබා දෙන්න සංවේදී වෙන්න කියලා.
State Minister Kanaka Herath says immediate action should be taken to find out whether there are more parliamentarians holding dual citizenship in Parliament.
The rule of law applies to everyone. The law that affects former State Minister Dana Gamage also applies to the others. Therefore, we need to find out if there are others who don't have citizenship and those who hold dual citizenship.
Valuable Finance was awarded the Best Finance Company for the third consecutive year.
In more local news, US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chang met with SLPP National Organizer Namal Rajapaksa today.
US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie Chang met SLPP National Organizer Namal Rajapaksa today to discuss political engagement, including issues affecting youth, and exchange views on strengthening US-Sri Lanka relations. Posting on X, formerly known as Twitter, US Ambassador Julie Chang said, quote, "As part of our outreach across the range of Sri Lankan parties, met with Namal Rajapaksa in his new role as SLPP National Organizer to hear about political engagement, including issues affecting youth, and exchange views on strengthening US-SL relations," end quote.
The Bar Association of Sri Lanka has expressed concern over the delay in appointing judges to fill vacancies in the Court of Appeal. In a letter to President Ranil Wickremesinghe, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka highlighted the potential negative consequences of these unfilled positions on the administration of justice in Sri Lanka.
In a letter to the President, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka expressed concern over the delay in appointing judges to fill vacancies in the Court of Appeal. The letter said, quote, "The BASL, the country's leading legal body, warns that the prolonged vacancy crisis in the Court of Appeal is jeopardizing the efficient functioning of the justice system. This could lead to a backlog of cases, delayed judgments, and ultimately the denial of justice for Sri Lankan citizens," end quote. The letter details that there are currently 5 vacancies in the Court of Appeal. The BASL argues that these empty positions hinder the judiciary's ability to uphold the rule of law and ensure justice for all. They added that the backlog of cases will rise, causing delays in delivering verdicts. This, in turn, could erode public trust in the legal system and negatively impact Sri Lanka's economic standing. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka acknowledges the complexity of the appointment process, but urges the President to prioritize filling these vacancies. They recommend that the selection process consider highly respected members of the private bar. The letter concludes by reiterating the BASL's commitment to safeguarding democratic principles and the sovereignty of Sri Lankan citizens. They urge the President for a swift and positive response to address this critical situation.
Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment Manu Shananayakara says that although the plantation companies have proposed the idea of paying the plantation workers a basic salary of 1,200 rupees, the government has not yet agreed to this. Minister Manu Shananayakara pointed out that the proposal has been presented to trade unions, and if they do not come to a final decision by the 15th of May, they will have to issue a final gazette fixing the basic salary at 1,350 rupees and daily wage at 1,700 rupees. The minister said this while addressing an event held today in Angunakula Palassa, Hambantota.
On the 30th of April, we issued a gazette establishing a basic salary of 1,350 rupees and a daily wage of 1,700 rupees effective from the 1st of May. This decision followed extensive negotiations. Many have inquired about the current status of the implementation. Workers have 15 days from the Gazette's publication date to raise objections. Plantation companies have recently presented their proposals to us. They propose a basic salary of 1,200 rupees instead of the gazetted 1,350 rupees. We maintain that the basic salary should be 1,350 rupees with the remaining amount of the 1,700 rupees daily wage determined by production and attendance. We have forwarded this proposal to the plantation units. It has come to our attention today that a spokesperson from the plantation trade union has said that the government has agreed to 1,200 rupees basic salary. This is absolutely untrue. We have simply received the company's proposal and submitted it to the unions. We urge all parties to reach an agreement before the 15th of May. If no agreement is reached by that date, a final gazette will be issued confirming the basic salary of 1,350 rupees and a daily wage of 1,700 rupees.
අවසන් ගැසට් නිවේදනය නිකුත් කරන්න අපිට සිද්ධ වෙනවා කියන එක මම මේ වෙලාවේ සිහිපත් කරනවා.
Meanwhile, parliamentarian Palani Digambaram says that the president announced the 1,700 rupee salary for plantation workers at the May Day rally as part of an election promise.
At the May Day meeting in Hatton, the president promised a daily wage of 1,700 rupees. This announcement was celebrated by the plantation workers. However, the joy was short-lived. As some reports suggest, the promise may not be fulfilled. There is a saying, a wicked man's lie will be revealed in 8 days. Here, the implication seems to be that the wage increase might be an election tactic, as the president knows that he will not win the upcoming presidential election. So this is an election promise to secure votes from the hill country residents. During the discussions at the president's secretariat, Manusha Nanayakara reportedly advised the plantation companies not to pursue legal action to accept the 1,200 rupee offer. This has emboldened the companies to propose this lower wage. The plantation workers are continuously falling victim to this issue. I believe dividing the plantations and empowering workers as small plantation owners could be the solution for the salary issue.
News First with the people.
Police say last night's shooting in Ahungalla was in retaliation for another shooting that took place in the same area last August.
Time around 8 p.m. Location Maradana, Ahungalla. Two unidentified individuals arrived at the victim's house last night. They opened fire and fled the scene. Police found around 5 empty ammunition casings near the site of the shooting. The victim of the shooting, a 54-year-old who was injured in the shooting, died after being admitted to the Balapitiya base hospital. Police suspect the unidentified shooters may have arrived at the crime scene on a motorcycle. Police suspect a link between this shooting and the one occurred on the 8th of May in Lokanwatta, Ahungalla. The father of a drug dealer who is hiding in Dubai was killed in that shooting. Police believe that the drug trafficker orchestrated last night's shooting.
The indefinite strike launched by university non-academic staff continued for a 10th day today. The University Trade Union Joint Committee said academic activities, weekend courses and examinations have come to a complete standstill in all universities due to the strike action. The Trade Union Council and the Students' Council of the University of Peradeniya convened a joint press conference today.
Without solving the issues within universities, the government is now trying to bring online education forward through this university administration. As the student movement and students of the University of Peradeniya, we are against these temporary solutions. The minister clearly stated that the two cabinet papers were directed to the cabinet subcommittee which convened on the 8th of May with regard to ongoing strike action based on the issues faced by non-academic staff. A decision had been reached to present them to the cabinet on the 13th of May. We hope the government will provide a fair solution to this.
The human-elephant conflict in rural Sri Lanka continues to unfold A tragic story where both sides bear the brunt of the consequences. Residents of Mahavilachia in Anuradhapura are all too familiar with this struggle, facing threats from wild elephants on a frequent basis.
A terrifying encounter with a wild elephant unfolded yesterday in the village of Gulupatwava in Mahavilachia, located in Anuradhapura. The elephant rampaged through the village, destroying a house belonging to Mary Hami and her 13-year-old daughter. At the time of the attack, Mary, a tamarind seller, and her daughter were the only ones home. Thankfully, they escaped unharmed. The elephant's destructive path not only flattened their house but also devastated their crops and belongings. Mary and her family, who rely on her husband's income from Colombo to make ends meet, now face the daunting task of rebuilding their lives.
Day 10 of the third phase of the LC DIVSA program, which is being carried out for the betterment of Sri Lanka's future generation, got underway today. Under the DIVSA program, exercise books and stationery equipment required for 1 year are distributed free of charge to government schools with less than 150 students. Today's program centered around the Ibagamo education zone in the Kurunegala district. Accordingly, school bags and stationery equipment were donated to students of the Kirindigalla Primary School, Rothvita Primary School, Raddegoda Junior School, Manapana Primary School, Nikagola Primary School and Lenava Primary School. School bags and stationery equipment were also distributed to students at the Ibagamo Zonal Education Office. The LC DIVSA program continues to forge ahead for the future generation of Sri Lanka. Up next is The World Today.
The US says Israel may have used American-supplied weapons in breach of international humanitarian law in some instances during the war in Gaza. The State Department says it is reasonable to assess that US-supplied arms have been used in ways inconsistent with Israel's obligation. But it added that the US government did not have complete information in its assessment. The report was submitted to Congress on Friday after a delay. The White House ordered review looked into how the country, along with 6 others engaged in conflict, has used US-supplied arms since the start of last year. While the report was a clear rebuke of some Israeli operations in Gaza, it stopped short of definitively saying that the Israel Defense Forces campaign had breached international law. Israel had to confront an extraordinary military challenge fighting Hamas in Gaza, and it added that assurances it had received from Israel about adhering to the legal use of weapons were credible and reliable, and so weapons shipments could continue. The document also noted that because Hamas uses civilian infrastructure for military purposes and civilians as human shields, it was often difficult to determine facts on the ground in an active war zone of what are legitimate targets. According to Taliban officials, at least 60 people have died and more than 100 have been injured after flash flooding in northern Afghanistan. Dozens of people remain missing after heavy rainfall hit 5 districts in Baghlan province, with warnings the death toll could rise ahead of a further 2 storms forecast to spread across the region on Friday. Pictures on social media showed torrents of water sweeping through houses in several villages, leaving a trail of destruction in its wake. The country has been hit by unusually heavy rainfall over the last few weeks, with floods killing more than 100 people since mid-April. A spokesperson for Afghanistan's Interior Ministry told foreign media that those who had died came from the Borka district in Baghlan province. More than 200 people have been trapped inside their homes there. The official earlier told Reuters news agency that helicopters had been sent to Baghlan, located directly north of capital Kabul, but the operation may not be successful due to a shortage of night vision lights. Meanwhile, another local official speaking to foreign media said that emergency personnel, including the army, were searching for any possible victims under the mud and rubble. The official added tents, blankets and food were provided to some families who had lost their homes. Ukraine says it has repelled a Russian armored attack in the northeastern Kharkiv region after Moscow's forces launched an incursion across the border and sought to break through defensive lines. Kharkiv regional head said Russian reconnaissance groups had tried to penetrate the border, adding that, quote, not a single meter has been lost, end quote. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said, quote, Russia has launched a new wave of counter-offensive operations in the Kharkiv sector, end quote. Also on Friday, a huge fire broke out at an oil storage depot in Ukraine's occupied Luhansk region after what Russian installed officials said was a Ukrainian strike. They added that 3 people were killed in the attack. Ukrainian reports suggested Russia was trying to create a 10-kilometer buffer zone for its Belgorod region after a series of Ukrainian cross-border attacks. Friday's small incursions over the Russian border form a familiar yet disturbing axis for Ukrainian forces. The defense ministry in Kyiv said that the attack started with the heavy bombing of the town of Vovchansk using guided aerial bombs with the support of artillery. India's top court has granted interim bail to Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal more than a month after he was arrested in a corruption case. The court said that the bail is applicable until the 1st of June, after which he must surrender to authorities again. A former anti-corruption crusader, Kejriwal was arrested in connection with a now scrapped alcohol sales policy in March. He has denied the charges against him and has called his arrest illegal. The Chief Minister moved to the Supreme Court after the Delhi High Court refused to give him bail last month. His bail was strongly opposed in court by India's financial crimes agency, the Enforcement Directorate. On Friday, a bench of Justice Sanjeev Khanna and Justice Deepankar Datta said Kejriwal would have to surrender on the 2nd of June, 2 days before the results of India's general election are due. The court has said Kejriwal would be allowed to campaign for the election upon his release, but will not be allowed to perform official duties during the time. A member of the Aam Aadmi Party, Arvind Kejriwal, was arrested on the 21st of March, days after the election dates were announced. He was the third AAP leader to be jailed in the case. The Enforcement Directorate accused him of favouring liquor barons in exchange for kickbacks. The party has denied the allegation.
Large parts of the world got a rare glimpse of the northern lights on Friday night, after one of the strongest geomagnetic storms hit the Earth for years. These events increased chances of the lights being visible, and the last time there was such a strong storm was in 2003. The Northern Lights made a stunning appearance across the world on Friday after the most powerful solar storm in more than 2 decades struck Earth. The colourful display, also known as Aurora Borealis, was seen in most parts of Europe. The Northern Lights also illuminated the night sky over some parts of the United States, Canada and Australia. These spectacular celestial light shows were attributed to an extreme geomagnetic storm that struck Earth on Friday. Authorities had also notified satellite operators, airlines and the power grid to take precautionary steps for potential disruptions caused by changes to the Earth's magnetic field.
The ICC T20 World Cup.
This moment is all that I've been dreaming.
Following the introduction of the T20 format by the England Cricket Board, within a very short period there was a worldwide interest towards this new format. The main reason behind the popularity of the new format is that cricket fans are losing interest in watching the longer format of the game due to their busy schedules. Australia and New Zealand are among the first full member states to play a T20 international match. Players of both teams were dressed in 1980s outfits, and some players were showcasing popular hairstyles from the 1980s during the match played at the Eden Park in Auckland, New Zealand in 2005. Michael Clarke, Ricky Ponting and Glenn McGrath were among the players representing Australia, while the likes of Brendan McCullum, Stephen Fleming, Scott Styris and Chris Keynes represent New Zealand. Australia emerged victorious in this match.
The ICC T20 World Cup.
And that's a wrap of primetime news for tonight. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Terni Karunaratne. Thank you for watching. Take care and good night.